Okay, so the final two episodes of Slasher Flesh and Blood, also known as Slasher Season 4, have aired on Shudder, and I just got done watching both episodes back to back, one after the other, and I'm going to be reviewing both episodes 7 and 8 in this review. I'm going to knock both these episodes out in this one video. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. I'm not going to make individual videos and have a 20-minute discussion talking about episode 7 and then have another 20-minute discussion talking about episode 8. I'm just going to talk about both episodes right here. This may be quite a lengthy video, but at the same time that's what you would expect if you're covering two episodes, especially since there's a lot of information that these last two episodes do give you. So yeah, expect a pretty long review here. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into episode 7. Starting it off, let's go. So something in my foot. There we go. So this episode picks up directly from where the last episode left off, where we see Afra holding the killer's hands and they walk out into the distance. This episode picks up directly from that ending, and we see where that scene goes. And while where it goes isn't pretty, it is an amazing opening. One of my predictions or one of my expectations going into this finale is I want to see some really creative kills, because after the first two episodes, this season did start to as far as the creativity with the kills, it didn't feel there. There was a specific amount of energy that the first two episodes gave, and there were some really creative kills, probably some of the best in this entire season. And for example, the kill in the garden shed where the guy is hung up on the hook, and and he gets sliced right through the middle, and then his guts start pulling out. And then there's the death in episode 2, where the guy's is strung up and his limbs get pulled off one by one. Amazing kills. And then I just felt from episode 3 onwards, I just felt that the creativity in all the kills was not there. I like that there's some kills with some cool concept behind it, but I just didn't feel like it was utilized. So the sand kill, I felt like you could have done something wildly creative there, and there was a lot of missed opportunity in a lot of the death that we did see further into this season. So yeah, I was glad to see that creativity return in the finale, and I was really pleased with the way episode 7 opened, where we see the killer tie rope around Afra's hands and feet, and then she's tied against two trees sideways, and the killer just cuts her in half through the middle. And all of the close-up shots of when the saw is actually sawing through her body looks amazing. The prosthetics, makeup, whatever the makeup designers did to create that kill, your work is really good. There is some amazing practical effects in this season. Yeah, I cannot praise the practical effects enough. They've done an incredible job creating some really inventive kills. So I was really pleased with the way this episode this episode opened, which I wasn't sure how that scene was going to go, because especially from the direction of episode 6 with Afra's character, it looked like she was going to be connected to the killer in some way, and yeah, that doesn't happen, which brings I have a note here about that. But there's two problems I have with this opening scene in episode 7. One, when the killer is putting rope around her hands and feet, isn't wouldn't that give you like a red sign saying like, oh shit, something's wrong? Like, I mean, I can understand kind of why she is laughing and smiling in this scene, because, you know, we explore her, like, her psychopath mindset, and we know what type of, you know, images and yeah, what we learned apparently last episode, yeah, that she doesn't feel like emotion against killing people. So that's kind of why I thought Aphra would be like helping out the killer or assisting the killer in some way. But yeah, I found that weird that she was smiling when the killer was tying her up. Yeah, to me that just seemed really out of place and odd. And then the second thing I've written down here is Aphra, as she's being tied up, she says, "I love you, Daddy." And as I was watching this episode, I kept on thinking what the meaning or the symbolism of that line could potentially mean, because I mean, I can kind of understand why she would say it, why she would think someone from her past is the killer. Like, I can kind of understand her mindset, like behind smiling and behind that line. But now knowing who the killer is, seeing both of these episodes now, that line has no context. In this finale at all, so I don't really see the purpose of it being said. Like, I can understand it, I guess, from her perspective, but just in the context of where these final two episodes go, yeah, I just didn't really feel like it was needed. And like, there's a lot of scenes like that throughout these final two episodes, as we will get to. But yeah, Aphra's death, amazing. I thought that was a great way to open up like the first episode of a of a 2-episode finale. I really dug that opening scene. And now Theo kisses Liv. Okay, so now this is something that I'm not a big fan of, where this story and how it develops going from episode 7 into episode 8. I'm not a big fan of this relationship in general, because it felt really out of place. It just didn't feel like there really was that connection. At least for me personally, I've seen like this entire season now, and there's not once throughout this season where I've been like, I think Theo and Liv, like, have a love relationship together. Like, there was never once that I really thought that. But yeah, I will talk more about that relationship as we get into episode 8. But yeah, I was not a big fan of how it started, because I felt like it was too late in the season, to actually like introduce that. Introduce that storyline and then kind of end it in the very next episode. I just felt like it was out of place, and it definitely does feel out of place at where it does go, which, like I said, I'll talk about that. Theo and Liv expects Vincent to be the killer, and so yeah, this is kind of the episode where everybody's kind of going the opposite ways, where where Theo and Liv think Vincent is the killer, and Vincent thinks Theo and Liv are the killer, and they're kind of going the opposite ways. But then in the middle of this episode, like, they come together and they work together to stop the killer, which isn't a bad technique, but that did not feel odd to me. Like, their relationship, like knowing each other for as long as they have, like, it kind of does make sense for why they are working together, and they do put the pieces together slowly in some way. David Cronenberg's character Spencer, he has a major part to play in the finale. Because there's a lot of flashbacks that you see of him, and you learn that he is a very abusive father, and that like, he thinks kind of like punishment is the only way, and just he uses like a lot of force. He doesn't really kind of like talk it, because like there's a scene at the end of episode 8 where he's just like, where he's slapping well, what's his name? He's slapping like Vincent, like he's slapping Vincent like repeatedly, and all that. So yeah, you learn more about David Cronenberg's character, and like I love the way Spencer's character has, like, I guess how his character has developed over this season. Even though he got killed off in like episode 2, like I really like the way his character has kind of developed. So yeah. Secret doors. What the house is this? Like, it seems like there is more than one secret door like in this house. Like, because there's like a lot of different pathways that leads down to like this garage of sorts, and there's other doors that lead into other rooms, and it's just, yeah, how many fucking doors are there in this house? And then Grace finds a door in the garage, where this scene when Grace goes inside the door, and the walls start closing in on her. This felt very much like the opening 5 minutes of Escape Room, where the walls were kind of closing and the character had to solve the puzzle to get out of the room. That's kind of what happens in this scene, and there's like this picture frame of like different photos like of the house, and like in boats, and in family portraits and all that, and she has to put them together. But yeah, that whole sequence felt very Saw-like to me. Just the idea of the walls closing, and you have to solve it in this amount of time, and then at the end of it, like you find a key to your freedom. Like, it felt very Saw-like to me. And this key that she finds, this locks and unlocks every door in this house, and this key unlocks this specific door that you discover later on, which on the other side of this door is this big pile of gold, this big pile of riches. And then she goes over to that table, and the killer is hiding in the corner, and you see him come out and move towards Grace slowly. And can I just say, Grace's death, this is another really phenomenal death in this season. I thought Grace's death, I thought this was a really inventive and creative kill. While we have seen a similar kill to this, I believe it was in season 2, I believe it was, that took place in the coffee shop. I remember there was a similar kill to this in one of the previous seasons where the killer pours hot water down the guy's throat. But in this death, there's this lava or heat or something along those lines, and it gets poured on her face, and then you see the aftermath of the death, and you see that half of the face is melted off, and it just looks amazing. I thought that was a really cool kill. Once again, massive props to the makeup department on this death, and really all of the deaths throughout this series, because without the makeup designers and the prosthetics artists and just anyone who's involved in this show who may or may not be watching this, it's every single one of you contribute to making an insanely awesome death. And it's I think it really shows. I think what's on display in all of the kills throughout this season, I think it really shows the amount of effort on all the kills. So yeah. And then at the end of this episode, Theo, Vincent and Liv, they team tag this bitch, and they take down the killer, and we finally find out who the killer is, who has been killing this family over the course of this season. Our answer is about to be answered, or should I say, our question is about to be answered in better words. And we find out that it's Dr. Trin, which, if that name doesn't ring a bell to you, if you don't know who that is, I didn't know either. I had no idea who this character was because she was in like the first 2 episodes. Like this character got, well, seemingly killed off at the end of episode 2. She was the one who got tossed into the wood chipper. Like she was chased down by Florence with the axe, and then I think what happened after that? Did she fall into it or did she push her? I think, yeah, no, that's right. Florence pushed her into it. Was that right? It's been a while since I've actually watched episode 2, so my brain is a little fuzzy on that information. But I think yeah, she fell into it. If I'm remembering it correct. But yeah, and then we have not seen her throughout the rest of this season. So when they took off the mask and we saw the killer's face, I had no idea who it was, because and this is what I mean. This is a terrible reveal. Which, if they had a good reason behind it, actually, okay, I should start from the beginning. Well, her being the killer, first of all. Her being the killer, I'm not too concerned about. Like, okay, she's the killer. So what? Big deal. The thing why I don't like who the killer is because her reasoning, her motivation for doing it is so lackluster. Like, it is terrible, because episode 8 starts off with a flashback and showing her first kill, supposedly, and we see her, you know, like, I don't know what it's called, like you put wood in between it to, you know, keep it stable. I do not know what the word is, or what the, you know, what the object is called, but yeah, she like cracks his skull, and then she puts her fingers inside his head, and it's a really like gruesome opening. And apparently just doing that was enough to just set it off on a killing spree. With which, the logic behind that, like, yeah, there is some logic, I guess, behind that. But it's then what comes after that, which pisses me off. So when she's talking to Vincent, Theo, and Liv, and you know, she's explaining her big master plan to them, she says that the only reason why she's doing that, why she's killing the family, is because it feels good. Like, that's literally her words. It feels good. There's no actual grudge or hate against the family. It's just, oh, because it feels good. Like, that is such, to me, that is such a Hail Mary type of ending. Like, you wait all through the season to find out who the killer is, and then the reveal that you get doesn't give you any of that satisfaction that you want as someone who's kind of stayed through this whole season waiting for the killer reveal. And then this is the type of reveal you get that doesn't really have, where the killer doesn't have a particular reason to be killing the people that she is. Like, she's on this island trapped with them. Like, so I can kind of see, I guess, her mindset behind it somewhat, but it's, and because, yeah, this family is the only family on this island, so I can kind of see that, like, in a way, to her, it's like killing is kind of like an addiction to her. Like, she, like the more you do it, the more you want to keep on doing it. And so I can kind of see that that's kind of what her motivation is like doing it, is killing the artist person that we saw at the opening of this episode. Like, I can kind of see her reasoning, but it still felt very out of left field. Like there was this middle gap that wasn't answered, and it just the show. This is where the show's writing really goes downhill because it fails to give a real reasoning, or explanation to why Dr. Trin is killing this family. Like she works for what's his name, Spencer. I just don't understand this reveal because there are no hints throughout the season. After she gets killed off, it's like it becomes like a whodunit, which that's a part of the show I love. Like if I was to rewatch this show, like I would watch it for like the whodunit mystery aspects. Like that's kind of the reason for why us horror fans watch slasher movies, slasher TV shows. We want to kind of piece the pieces of the puzzle together ourselves. We want to try and figure out who the killer is. But apparently, so yeah, Dr. Trin, she was the one to get killed in the woodchopper in episode 2, I believe it was, or episode 1. I'm not entirely sure on that, but apparently beforehand, Dr. Trin placed the gardener's body, like in the wood chipper, and then started. Well, no, actually no. Florence clicked the button to start it, and so yeah, the gardener's body was the one in the wood chipper, and she was kind of like holding on to the edges, so Florence could not see her, and all that, and so the blood that's pouring out that wood chipper, like it's not hers. Which yeah, like that I still don't buy. Like looking back at it, like it kind of makes sense that like she was running kind of towards the wood chipper, and like that's kind of where she wanted to go because that's where her trap was set. But on the other hand, how the fuck did she know like Florence was going to go all psycho and chase her through the fucking woods? Like that just doesn't make sense to me. Like you can't. I mean, in a way you can expect the unexpected, but in the case of this, it's breaking so much logic. Like it doesn't make sense to me, and just doesn't make sense in context of it. Which yeah, and apparently Spencer told her that she can do whatever she wants to to the contestants that lose this game, and so she can choose like any punishment that she wants, and so she takes killing as her punishment. Like her reasoning is so bad. Like I just don't get it. That's enough. I'm not talking more about that reveal. Like I hated it. I was not a fan. of it at all. Vincent goes mad. So this is I really dug this part of the episode where Vincent and Theo's relationship, where we see that relationship kind of clash together, and Vincent absolutely loses his shit. Like he has a knife in his back pocket from Dr. Trin, and he is just chasing Theo. And there's this, like there's that great brother drama, like as this season is very well known for, like the family drama like with each other. And since this relationship between Theo and Vincent has been hinted at like throughout this season, it's not until this episode where you really kind of see that storyline kind of clash and you see it, I guess, come full circle. But yeah, Vincent loses his shit and just runs after like Theo and tries to stab him, because Theo, he was the one to start it. He was the one that was kind of like throwing Vincent around from wall to wall, and all that. So and then I can fully see Vincent's reasoning. Like, if Vincent was the killer, like, that alone, what we learn about, like, Vincent and his relationship with his brother when they were younger, like, that alone would have been, like, a better reasoning for the killer reveal than the one that we got. And what's this? Theo, he uses a wire to cut off Vincent's head, and like this is a really gnarly looking scene. Like you see it like tear through his lips and all that as he's kind of pulling it back with force, and then when his head like gets pulled off, like you see it land on the ground, and it looks so incredibly fake. Like the CGI, like yeah, the CGI head, it's so noticeable. Like in the next few shots, like it's almost like it's so obvious it's CGI because everything else that you're seeing in the scene is practical, and there's this CGI object, and yeah, like it looks really bad. And then at the end of this episode, we see Theo and Liv are the only two survivors left. And this is kind of where you see that love romance I was talking about at the beginning of this video, where you see that come full circle here. There's secrets that are being told about how how Liv has always had feelings for Theo. Which, looking at her decision, I find that really hard to believe that Liv had feelings for Theo, because Liv had no hesitation of snapping Theo's neck. So I feel like what she was saying beforehand, like I'm not sure if it was like true or false. If she really did have if she really did have feelings towards Theo, or if she didn't, or if she was only doing that to to get the prize, and all that. But yeah, and so yeah, Liv and Theo, there's a shower scene with them, and then they have sex with each other, and yeah, then they're on the bed, and they're discussing how yeah, I've always had feelings towards you, and I haven't told you because our families would have been pissed, and all of that, which on this regard. Okay, on this regard, I agree with Liv, because I feel like if that information did get out to the family, I feel like it would have just added to the family drama. It would have just been something more for this family, to rant about. So, I agree with Liv with keeping it a secret and all. So I think that was a pretty smart decision. But it's just this whole romantic relationship. It felt so out of left field. It doesn't, there's a whole 20 to 15 minute segment, or 15 to 20 minute segment, where it's just them talking and them making love, and this is after Vincent has got killed, and it's just those last 15 minutes, that could have got cut, and seeing Vincent's death, that would have been the perfect ending. We didn't need all this bonus shit, all this romantic love stuff added to it. It did not, it lost the entire rhythm of this episode, for me at least. You guys might view that differently. And yeah, I'm not sure how people feel about the killer reveal. I'm curious to know, if you have stuck around for this video, what you do think of the killer reveal. Because for myself, I was hugely disappointed. There was just a lot of things in these last two episodes I was not a big fan of. All of the writing and the direction, the writing in particular did not, it did not have that, that cohesive, that rhythm that the last few episodes had. And yeah, like yeah, I was not a fan of this finale, but I think the series as a whole I think is good, but it's just maybe if I go back, like I might like, you know, I might like the killer reveal. Like it might make more sense knowing who it is now. So, but yeah, like I think yeah, this is I think a really good show. Like I think it has some great depths. I think it has great story, great characters. So it has everything that you want out of like a slasher TV series. But it just doesn't. It completely lost it at the killer reveal and other things as well. So yeah, I think in the end, yeah, I was really disappointed, since you know that was a question. If you've been watching all my individual reviews for this series, like I've always wondered who is the killer, and I've been estimating for like the past 6 weeks. So yeah, it was disappointing to actually finally get the answer and it being executed in the way that it was. But yeah, no, what can you do? So anyways guys, if you have seen the final 2 episodes, let me know down in the comments what did you think of it, and what did you think of the killer reveal, and what did you think on how this series ended. I'm curious to know all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. So anyways guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day, evening or night, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Alright, bye.